The views and comments expressed on the Space Show by its guests, callers, and listeners belong to them. The Space Show and its hosts serve only as a platform and are not responsible for others' comments or views. All topics discussed on the Space Show are primarily for educational purposes.
Welcome to the Space Show, 90 minutes of exploring new frontiers and exciting opportunities in outer space. Here's your host, Dr. David Livingston.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday Space Show. Thank you for joining us today. And again, it's absolutely great to be here. We get to bring on our guest today, someone I've been reading his newsletters from months, maybe even a couple of years, from Italy, a really deep and great thinker and a person devoted to and very interested in space. His newsletters are always amazing to me because I don't often see the kind of deep, critical thinking that this guest is capable of, and he writes so well about, not just about space, but things that go on in our world, like the energy problem, like our war in Iraq, all sorts of things, and he's able to show the linkage into the space world. So while this is not a political program, I'm sure we'll touch on some of these subjects with our guest today, who is Adriano Autino. He is a prolific science and space writer, a lecturer for leading magazines, journals, and space advocate organizations, and he is an Italian entrepreneur making software and tools for aerospace and infrastructure. He is an astronautic humanist and the author of many original concepts for the space age philosophy. Adriano publishes this exceptional space newsletter that I told you about. We'll find out how you can get added to his list. And he is a very strong, vocal, and, as I said, deep-thinking contributor to all of the alternative space advocacy world. It's a great pleasure to bring Adriano Autino all the way from Italy to the Space Show. Good day. How are you today?
Hi, David. I'm fine. Thanks. Yeah. I'm from Italy. I'm sitting in Italy in this moment. And first of all, I want to pray all the listeners to forgive me for my bad English. And if many times I will ask to David to repeat questions because I will have problem to understand, and sometimes I will invent some strange words when I miss some proper words. But it's okay. Let's start.
Well, you'll be fine. I understand you, and I have a hard time understanding people, so I think it'll just be great. But what amazes me is that so far, Adriano, you're really my only contact that has ever come to me or made any kind of email exchanges from Italy with the Space Show. So I'm really curious, how did you get your interest in space? Did it come from school programs, a teacher? This is a real opportunity for the Space Show to be able to talk to someone in Italy.
Well, first of all, thanks for all your very kind words that you said in your introduction. First of all, I have to say that I always was an insatiable science fiction reader. But if it was only for that, I didn't have passed the dream level. Thought the dream level is worth of full respect, of course. But you're right. In Italy, maybe there is not such a big discussion around space, and if people is reaching these positions, it is most due to its own research and reflection. So my interest for space comes from my new humanist philosophy. What is my new humanist philosophy? I think I will come back later during the conversation. But after the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, I studied the analysis of the ecologists, mainly Augusto Peccei, who wrote The Limits of Development in the 70s. and Lester Brown with his analysis about the planet situation from the ecological point of view and so on. And suddenly I thought they could be right in the analysis about the finiteness of the Earth resources. This is something plain to see, that Earth is an ensemble of finite materials, is not infinite. But they were wrong in the solutions. Mankind cannot succeed as a species in order to save the nature of this planet. In other words, if we want to escape the destiny of the other animal species, animal kind that populated this planet, we have to use our intelligence, and we have to find technologies to go over the borders of our world, over the frontiers of our world. That's why I conceived a magazine named Technologies of the Frontiers. And yes, in that time I was thinking about a printed magazine on the paper. Of course, I didn't find money to do that, and no sponsor, no editor, and so on. And the possibility, of course, came with the internet during the second 90s. And but in 1987, I had written, "If the world is finite, we need other worlds." So I became an astronautical humanist, and since that time I always say that I am a new humanist and an astronautical humanist, because I didn't want to abandon the new humanist definition, because it includes too many good principles. But I think that if we are new humanists, we cannot do anything else than to be astronautical humanists. And 10 years after, in 1997, I discovered that such a definition was invented by Kraft Ericke, one of the fathers of astronautics, some decades before. Ericke, okay, I think I'll tell you nothing of new, was one of the fathers of NASA. He was a German researcher, and he came in the United States after the war, together with von Braun and other forerunners of the missilistic technologies. So I started to look on the web for other astronautic humanists, and I found somebody in the UK, most of all, because the UK in Europe is the place where this discussion is more advanced. But also in France, also in the United States, of course, in Japan, and so on, and we started a discussion that still continues.
In Italy, is going into space and space advocacy and space commerce, is it an interesting and widely followed topic? I know you have the Italian Space Agency, and you have a brilliant Italian scientist who has experiments on Mars Express with the European Space Agency. So in your country, how is space regarded by the regular Italian citizens?
Yeah, great. Yes, I think something is moving now. Maybe a little bit also thanks to technologies of the frontier. Of course, the space is a tradition also in the Europe. Since 25 years, the European Space Agency deals with satellites, and the European space industry was leader for the expendable launchers, and the space industry here was, as in the rest of Europe, based on telecommunication satellites and Earth observing, what I call the terrocentric ESA strategy, because okay, I don't want to run immediately in my critic discussion. Just to give you data now. After the telecommunications shown to the world that they aren't a real industrial development actor, there is a big process of concentration, and ESA is keeping alive such a process by public money mostly, because until when the telecommunication was alive and growing market, there was of course a source of money coming from private industry. But up to now, as I said, there is a big process of concentration, and they say one only big space dealer will exist in Europe, englobing all what it was DASA Aerospace, Astrium, Airbus Launch Vehicle, Matra Marconi, Alenia also in Italy, and all this situation in one unique, one only company, big corporate. But we have something else. Yes, we have also small and medium enterprises, not just like scale composites, but neither big elephants. And we have, for instance, Carlo Gavati Space, just to say a name. They are doing the unmanned space vehicle with 1/3 of the money claimed by Alenia to do the same work. Just to make some example. The USV is an automated vehicle targeted to experiment new technologies toward reusable launch vehicles. Okay, several technologies are to be tested and validated in this experimental vehicle. And just this week, I became aware of an initiative named. This is very interesting. It is named Spaceland. There is also a website that can be visited. And it is a recent initiative financed by Regione Piemonte, and it has a very interesting program for involving companies, companies, all kind of companies, not only space and aerospace companies, proposing them to fly in zero-gravity flights and to fly experiments on human health monitoring, biomedicine, and vocal commands to computer system, all these things that will have a sound return on Earth. And of course, a very good marketing return for the companies that will participate. And this is a program by now that has very, very few money, but they hope that if they will go on television, and it is on the agenda that they go on television, they will have a higher number of sponsors then. And I think this last type of initiatives surely is a consequence of SpaceShipOne and of the fly of Mr. Tito also, and of Mr. Shuttleworth, and of the fact that it begins to exist a certain attention on the space tourism team. And it was not so just 1 year ago. It's interesting.
Speaking of SpaceShipOne, how big of a deal and news article is this in Italy? Is it being talked about on the television news, in the newspapers, in the magazines, on the radio?
Let me say the events were covered, but there is not such a big discussion. Because you have to, okay, I don't like very much to speak bad about my country.
Well, it's not bad. It's just, you know,
no, you have. We don't want to dream. We have to see the reality how it is. We have journalists very unprepared, not only about space but about science, I can say. So our journalism is not very skilled in science matters and in space neither. And so they passed the news. Of course, they passed it, but I didn't listen to anyone able to connect the event to the big questions of the development of the industrial development of the start of a space economy and all this kind of very, very much more interesting discussion that can be done. And they aren't. So the only thing I can say is that we are very, very late here. But I hope that something is changing.
Well, I hope quite a few people in Italy follow the flight tomorrow. You know, when they did their test flight on June 21st, and I was picking up email traffic from all over the world when we did that broadcast, I probably had 20 to 25 emails from people in Italy that were following our coverage. So I know that there's an interest there.
Yes. There are also some other things that exist are some websites that try to inform on this kind of events and of discussion. And a very encouraging thing, many young graduated, they make their graduation work, their thesis on space tourism. This happens in the economy faculties, university, and in the architecture faculties. This is what I know. Then maybe many other things occur in other faculties. And of course, there are faculties devoted to astronomy and to astronomic physics and so on, and studies in engineering for spacecraft and all this kind of scientific matters.
Let's go into some of the things about space that you have written about in your newsletter that you have talked about and that we referenced in the introduction that I gave to you. So, first of all, you have a software company, and can you explain what your software company does, what its products does, and how do you relate it to being spacefaring and to working in the space community?
Yeah. Yes, I have a very small company, is Andromeda, that I am the owner and the president of this small company, and we make software because this is my main experience and skill since 30 years, more than 30 years. I am a softwareist and more oriented to automation systems, to process control, real-time process control systems. And in the last 10 years, I worked mostly in the aerospace domain and in the infrastructure domain. That means highways, tunnels, and all this kind of plants where the availability and safety of the systems are a primary requirement. So the fil rouge, my mission was in the last 10 years to make safe and available computer systems, automation computer systems. Making this work, I had, of course, working for aerospace, I had to learn the quality standard methodologies, and I had opportunity to see how they are complicated, redundant, and how they are expensive too. So I understood that if one doesn't work in this kind of segments, of market segments that are aerospace and defense, simply it is not possible to apply the quality standard because the project will cost 2 times or 3 times also. And having observed this very big problem, it is a big problem because, of course, in the infrastructure domains, in highway, in the railways, in high velocity railways, all these kind of applications, there is a huge need of quality of the systems, safety and reliability and availability of the systems. And what could I do if I wanted to have the same behavior when I work for aerospace and for infrastructures? Because my ethic, of course, doesn't allow me to work with quality in one case and without quality in the other. Therefore, I had to invent something in order to make me able to work with the same behavior in both cases. And therefore, I decided this was not so simple. Of course, what I'm saying now in few words, it was a process of not sleeping in the night because the solution didn't came to my mind so quickly. But at a certain point, I understood that the only way was to use electronics also to deal quality information. Therefore, I was in the middle of a big project. It was the plasma wind tunnel project. Plasma wind tunnel is a ground test facility to test the materials that cover the nose of the objects that have to re-enter in the atmosphere, simulating the 25 minutes of very hot environment. And this simulation is made by a voltaic arc of a very big one in Capua at the CIRA, the Consorzio Italiano Ricerche Aerospaziali. It was a 70 megawatt voltaic arc, the biggest of the world in this category. And all the automation system was more than 3,000 signers between analogic and digital. Excuse me if I go into the technical details. I will try to stay far from details. And it was a very complicated, complex project. I had the responsibility of system integrator. I had to write 80% of the test procedures and personally make the supervision of the test execution up to the final acceptance test. In that situation, I was very, very stressed because the schedule needs were in contradiction with the quality in it. And one day the customer came to me with the hat of the program manager saying to me, Adriano, you're late, you have to be quicker, you have to cut test procedures and so on. And the day after he came with the hat of the quality manager telling to me, why don't I have the logbook, the test report of this and this and this test. When I understood that they wanted their solution by me, I had to invent something. And being a softwareist, of course we have the magic wand. that is the relational database. So I started to log problems on a database instead of writing them on the paper and sending them to the quality office and waiting for 1 month. They give me back the logbook and give me the permission to make the corrections of the software and so on. And so what I made it was to take the quality in the hands of technicians, to take back the quality of the project from the quality managers that live outside of the project, to take back the quality to in the hands of the technicians, and to make completely the management of the problems and solutions and so on by means of this tool. So not to be too long, after that experience, it was the year 2000, I I decided to make other tools and in order to cover the whole life cycle of the project, starting from the requirements definition and ending with the acceptance test, with all the tracing, intermediate, and so on. And now we have a product. We have a quality management system that is complete and covers the whole system life cycle, and it allows users to save a lot on the project time and to make efficiency by means of quality. And this is a really really interesting thing, because people is used to consider double cost when they have to apply quality standards. Now we have a tool to enhance what in America is called capability maturity model, that is a kind of a grid to measure the maturity of the software producers, made of 5 levels. Okay. Okay, this is our skills and products, and of course we are very small and we have to fight with giants like IBM and others. But the few customers that are using our product are very happy, and they say it really make saving time, because it produces all the documentation in MS Word automatically. Therefore, I think we can have a chance to go on, and I hope so.
Okay, hold it right there, Adriano. We're going to take a short break. Okay. Our guest today is Adriano Autino from Italy. We will be back in just a few short minutes.
The Space Show would like to take a moment to thank each of you for listening and giving this program both praise and support. The Space Show, like other talk radio programs, depends upon advertisers and sponsors for their help and financial support. Tell your favorite business about the great advertising opportunities still available on the Space Show. Our ad packages are affordable, creative, and effective. They include web links and advertising, streaming internet play, as well as our very own internet radio station, in combination with your ad, on the Tuesday evening KKNW Seattle Space Show broadcast. Ad packages can be customized to fit your budget, and we know that we can have a positive impact on your business. For more information about advertising or sponsoring the Space Show, call Dr. Livingston at 415-435-6018 or send an email to drspace@thespaceshow.com. The mission of the Space Show is to promote future economic opportunities, scientific discoveries, and medical advances for all mankind through peaceful and cooperative ventures in outer space. The Space Show intends to be the forum by which space exploration becomes an integral part of our culture, economy, and our cosmic vision, one in which all nations unite in creating a thriving future afforded by off-Earth opportunities. The Space Show is committed to advancing integrity and responsibility in our off-Earth conduct and the potential long-range consequences of our actions in space. The Space Show wants to make the dreams of space today the reality of tomorrow. The Space Show would like to take a moment to thank each of you for listening and giving this program both praise and support. The Space Show, like other talk radio programs, depends upon advertisers and sponsors for their help and financial support. Tell your favorite business about the great advertising opportunities still available on the Space Show. Our ad packages are affordable, creative, and effective. They include web links and advertising, streaming internet play, as well as our very own internet radio station, in combination with your ad, on the Tuesday evening KKNW Seattle Space Show broadcast. Ad packages can be customized to fit your budget, and we know that we can have a positive impact on your business. For more information about advertising or sponsoring the Space Show, call Dr. Livingston at 415-435-6018 or send an email to drspace@thespaceshow.com.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Sunday Space Show. This is your host, Dr. David Livingston, our guest with us today from Italy, Adriano Autino. And before we go back to our conversation, two quick announcements. A reminder that the Space Frontier Foundation is holding its 13th annual conference aboard the Queen Mary in Long Beach the weekend of October 8th through 10th. That is this coming weekend. I believe there is still hotel space available on the Queen, and certainly there is available registration space for the conference. So check it out. This is the place for the alternative space movement. My understanding is that Bert Rutan is going to be there to address the group. It's going to be really exciting upon the success of SpaceShipOne tomorrow morning. We're all pulling for them, but this is going to be the place to find out all there is about it. Check out the Space Frontiers website for more information about this conference, www.space-frontier.org. Also, the Space Show is really grateful, very thankful to Remote Satellite Systems International in Santa Rosa, California, for providing us with our backup satellite telephone communication to keep broadcasting at Mojave for the X Prize flight if cell phone towers and systems get overloaded or go down. They have treated us like kings, even though we're a small business. They're great, and they have a 10-year record of providing satellite communication systems and support worldwide, not just here in Northern California. They work with international business travelers, Homeland Security forces, and quite a few other customers, including now the Space Show. So check them out. Talk to Chris Alexander. This is a great company to do business with. Trust me, I'm not steering you wrong on this. Their website is www.remotesatellite.com, and you can call them at area code 707-545-8199. Tell them you heard about them on the Space Show. Now, welcome back, Adriano. How is the day going in Italy? Is this a nice weather season for Italy?
Yeah, it was not rainy, but not quite clean. It is an early autumn day.
Adriano, I want to ask you a couple of questions about the newsletter that you have written. So before you answer these questions, you might tell people how to find it or subscribe to it. But initially, you wrote not too long ago that real progress does not come from large aerospace or giant space companies in the giant space industry, and that a good portion of the small businesses and entrepreneurial companies fail, and they don't even get started, and only a few make it, and then you cited Scale Composites as an exception. Why do you believe this?
Well, it's a good question. The answer is at least two levels, because I think there are strategic problems, because one of the reasons why the big companies and the space agencies don't make real progress on the space frontier. It comes mainly from strategic setup, and there is also let me say a practice setup, practice problem, because small companies work with passion. And is the difference between the passion of the artisan versus the boredom of the big bureaucracy. It doesn't matter if public or private. It's all the same. In the big organization, people work to fill the working day and to get a salary. They are numbers. They don't have specific goals. They are not considered human persons, but just numbers. And I think the bureaucracy mortifies the human intelligence and denies the value of individuals. So the bureaucrats believe that the people are all interchangeable, spendable. They trust in the perfect procedure that allows the organization to use inexperienced people and of course badly paid people. So in this, with this setup, what we say is the quality is lowering. Before we spoke about quality, in the last 10 years we saw, 10, 15 years, we saw the quality standard grow up gigantically, and the quality of the space system is decreasing accordingly. I can make some examples. Ariane 5 is the new launcher of ESA, had a failure rate more than 20%, versus the Ariane 4 failure rate that was 2.6%. So we have one order of magnitude bigger, and this in Europe. In NASA home, we have 2 shuttles on 5 tragically lost, and a number of probes on Mars were lost too, and we have what I can see is that the quality of the space system is decreased. But we also we spoke before about the strategic reasons. Strategic reason, of course, is that the governative agencies are, let's say, working to keep their power and to and not to lost their position. And what does it mean? All the system composed by the agencies and the big companies was set up in the last 20-25 years on the spendable rocket industry, and we can see that we had the X-33 project in the NASA, that it was a concentrate of science fiction technologies that couldn't be validated in a short time. Therefore, many commentators say that X-33 could never fly. And finally, X-33 was dropped because in the same in the last 2 years, things are moving. China is announced its space program and flown its first astronaut, and the X Prize is coming to solution. Therefore, that situation in which the agency spent $25 billion per year of public money, giving back nothing to the taxpayers, it is coming to an end finally.
What is special about a company like Scaled Composites from your perspective?
Well, really, I'm not able to tell you if Scaled Composite is a very happy exception or if it is the first of a new species. Okay, I'm not so able to analyze the situation. But anyway, in Scaled Composite we have some conditions because all those few people I was reading during these weeks about the composition, they are only 5 or 6 designers, and they are also entrepreneurs, and the whole company is not bigger than some tenths of people. They are all very passionate. They are all old. Okay, in Italy we say vecchielenza. It is an old fisher. I don't know if there is some this kind of expression in English. Anyway, they have a huge experience, and they have a big passion. So they work maybe 20 hours per day, and they work with goals very, very focused. And so they were able to make with less than $30 million the same thing that NASA made with X-15 36 years ago, with don't know how many money, but surely at NASA they don't even take the coffee in the morning with $30 million. And these things show this event of the 21st of June showed a number of things. That it is not true that we have to rely on the government agencies to reach the space. We have other technological development in the real society. And it is not true that to put a kilogram of material in orbit still has to cost $20,000, because probably when the new vehicles will be industrially set, it will cost very less. And just in the 27th of September, 4 days ago, we had the signature of an agreement between Virgin and the Paul Allen company. Now I don't remember the name.
Vulcan Financial.
Yeah, to set up an industrial development of a suborbital flyer with an industrial production. And also another very important thing is that it is not needed to have long trainings, and it's not needed to be young, because Mike Melville is 62 years old, the pilot of SpaceShipOne.
Right.
So therefore, a lot of myths are coming down these days, and this event will move everything. I think agencies, space agencies will face an ideological crisis in the next month and years, and they will have to change. I don't say they shall close, as many critics say. I think that if we dismantle them, maybe we will see the day after that we don't have other organizations to collect money to take together the huge know-how that is in the agencies today. So my critic is the critic of a friend. I think we have nothing to gloat for the failures, because their failures are also our failures, and we have to discuss and to reflect very deeply what to do, how we could not waste this patrimony that accumulated $25 billion per year for many years. And okay, they are late. They didn't lower it of 1 cent the cost of 1 kilogram to orbit. And okay, this is the reason of the ideological failure. We must see it and now understand what to do.
Since we're talking about this and you've written about it in your newsletter, tell the listeners a little bit about your newsletter, and can they subscribe to it or read it online?
Yes, of course. So we have a website. The website is www.TDF. The TDF is an acronym, is from the Italian definition of Tecnologie di Frontiera, Technologies of the Frontier. So the initials are T like technologies, D like Detroit, F like frontier, .it. This is the website. On the website there is everything to subscribe to the newsletter.
Okay, and again, I urge people to do it. It is available in English.
Yes.
And you cover some deep thoughts. For example, you recently wrote about spacefaring could actually lessen our dependence on oil in an oil economy. How do you see that happening? How can we get to less oil usage around the world by going into space?
Yeah, it's okay. I need some premises because it is not so immediate, the answer. But anyway, yes, I think space power is the solution to the problem of energy for centuries to come. What I mean for space power, I mean solar energy collected in the space and redirected to customers, both on Earth's surface and on space and in space. So, what are the advantages? The advantages are that in space we have a constant flow of 1,400 watt per square meter, instead of the unconstant 700 watt on the Earth's surface, conditioned by weather, day, night, longitude, etc. And such energy can be collected by very large Gossamer antennas and then directed to customer points by means of microwave beams. So this is the technology. Until now was not demonstrated yet, but I know that there are several studies and there are projects ready for demonstrators, of course, to be placed in low orbit, so on an equatorial orbit. For instance, one was the one called SPS 2000, made by the Japanese government with NASA, and it was animated by our friend Dr. Patrick Collins. And the project was to involve eight countries around the equatorial circle, and they would have the energy transmitted by the satellite, not constantly, but at certain hour during the day, of course, because the orbit is equatorial, so it could be constant only if it was at a geostationary orbit at 36,000 kilometers. But of course, the ones to be put at geo will be big plants operated, not only demonstrators. So, okay. I think we have to say something about the technology, just to not speak completely on the cloud. About the quantity, there is no problem. This is a completely continuous energy source, and just think how many terawatt of solar energy flow in the volume of the so-called Greater Earth. The Greater Earth is the Earth's magnetosphere, a sphere of 3 million kilometer diameter. So this energy is flowing there. It has flown since some billions years. It will flow for other billions years. But we take it or not, it will continue to flow and to be wasted. Wasted. Wasted for our objectives, of course, and the solar energy flow in the solar system to feed the other planets and so on. But anyway, the fact is that we can take it and we will waste nothing. Okay, and it will be absurd, absolutely crazy to stay here, our planet's surface, to fight for oil while we have an nearly infinite, because for our scopes, I think we can also say it's infinite, even if the sun is not infinite, of course. It will come to an end in some billions of years. But anyway, for our goals of now, of this century, of this millennia, we can consider it is infinite. So we have it there. It is enough to go there to take it. We are late. We are 30 years late, but maybe we're still in time. I think we don't have all the eternity to do it. Why we don't have eternity? Of course, because we have to compare our development, our growth on this planet as a species with the conditions and with the resources of this planet. So we are nowadays, I think, 6.5 billion people. I didn't see today the precise number, but I think we are around there. And we cannot grow up further in a closed environment. So what Kraft-Erike said, that he named the extraterrestrial imperative, it was right, because the space option is not an option. We have to go there. And I was very surprised when I read the article by Professor Van Allen. He said that nowadays the space expansion to space it is only to satisfy the sense of adventure, the spirit of adventure of men.
Yeah, that was.
We don't really need it.
Very, very strange to see that article. I agree with you.
Yeah. And okay. So I think with the space power we can solve energy problem for next millennia. I think for this millennium at least. Because we will have a lot of advantages too, also from the environmental point of view, because we will take outside of the planet the thermic burden of the extraction of energy. And okay, when we will take down the energy, we will have the problem to distribute it, and so we will have to put some other technology near the
okay.
solar power.
Adriano, hold it right there. We need to take our next break, and we'll come back on the other side of this with the issue of distributing it, and also we have some questions coming in about the use of solar energy, and I'll bring those up as soon as we come back from this break. So everybody stay where you are. We'll be back in about 3 minutes with our guest today, Adriano Autino from Italy.
The Space Show would like to take a moment to thank each of you for listening and giving this program both praise and support. The Space Show, like other talk radio programs, depends upon advertisers and sponsors for their help and financial support. Tell your favorite business about the great advertising opportunities still available on the Space Show. Our ad packages are affordable, creative, and effective. They include web links and advertising, streaming internet play, as well as our very own internet radio station, in combination with your ad, on the Tuesday evening KKNW Seattle Space Show broadcast. Ad packages can be customized to fit your budget, and we know that we can have a positive impact on your business. For more information about advertising or sponsoring the Space Show, call Dr. Livingston at 415-435-6018 or send an email to drspace@thespaceshow.com. The Space Show would like to take a moment to thank each of you for listening and giving this program both praise and support. The Space Show, like other talk radio programs, depends upon advertisers and sponsors for their help and financial support. Tell your favorite business about the great advertising opportunities still available on the Space Show. Our ad packages are affordable, creative, and effective. They include web links and advertising, streaming internet play, as well as our very own internet radio station, in combination with your ad, on the Tuesday evening KKNW Seattle Space Show broadcast. Ad packages can be customized to fit your budget, and we know that we can have a positive impact on your business. For more information about advertising or sponsoring the Space Show, call Dr. Livingston at 415-435-6018 or send an email to drspace@thespaceshow.com.
I'm Dr. David Livingston, creator and host of the Space Show, and I would like to share my vision with you for not only this radio program, but for space development. Space should be like any other place we choose to visit, work in, or call our home. It should be just another destination, like Tahiti, Hawaii, or any place available to us right now on Earth. When this vision becomes reality, we will be spacefaring in our culture, our economy, our society, and in our lives. Our world will be vastly improved by countless space-related benefits, transforming our lives both in space and right here on Earth. And the Space Show is helping to make this vision a global reality. And welcome back to the Space Show. This is your host, David Livingston. Our guest today from Italy, Adriano Autino. And just another quick reminder announcement. The X Prize flight is tomorrow. I just received an email. The flight takes off at 7 a.m. and SpaceShipOne ignites at 8 a.m., all California Pacific time, and it returns to Earth at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you tune us in on the Space Show for that. Visit thespaceshow.com/newsletter a few minutes after this program ends, and you will have all of the listening information and instructions for hearing and participating in that broadcast tomorrow morning posted right there for you to use. Adriano, I've gotten a question from England along the lines of what you were discussing with energy and the sun and oil, and this is from Jeff in the UK. And what do you think about collecting solar energy fairly close to the sun, for example, having to do with Mercury? And would the transmission be better if the energy was somehow transferred in the solid form and transmitted or transported back using solar winds?
So I'm not sure to have correctly got the question. They speak about collecting the energy near Mercury.
Correct. The closer to the sun, the better. And then would you transfer or transport the energy using solar wind?
So low vehicle with solar wind.
Right.
Yeah, it could be. I think it could be a good solution too. Even if I think we can more quickly to build power plants in orbit, in Earth orbit, and the main problem is how to take down the energy from orbit to the Earth surface. And so I think I'm not excluding this possibility, but I think it could be a good solution, and maybe that will allow to collect more energy. But my philosophy is to go on by small step, by small feasible steps. So in the same way, I think that maybe we will have time to still to talk about this when we maybe talk about programs. In the same thing, the same way, I think that Moon is more priority than Mars, and that we are late, 25 years, about colonizing the Moon, and we have to use Moon as a school, the space school. And because I think we have to set up a strategy of industrialization, not only of exploration and scientific experimentation. We have to act on these three activities, of course: science, exploration, and industrialization. Now, until nowadays, industrialization was never present in non-strategy of agencies. I think, okay, this is a politic topic, of course, not a philosophical or a strategical one. But the important thing is that with the space tourism and with what is happening with SpaceShipOne and so on, that it is a very important discussion about industrialization has begun, finally. So we start again the interrupted walk, the walk that was interrupted more than 30 years ago. This is my thought.
Let me interrupt you and bring in, because this is going to add a dimension to what you're talking about, and I think it's a good question to bring in right now. It's from Phil in Chicago, Illinois, and he says, all political leaders around the world always talk about breaking the dependence on oil, as your guest is talking about today. But the reality is it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in any country, not in Italy, not in England, not in Europe, and certainly not in the United States. Why do you think the solar space power option is not pursued in any great way by any government, any place?
Of course, okay, I don't like to say that there is a big brother after what it happened. But anyway, I think that in this case, we have to talk about the big power of the oil lobbies. For sure, they stopped the development of the hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen is not a source of energy, because hydrogen is a way to transport, to store and transport energy, not a source of energy. But anyway, the research on hydrogen is stopped since 30 years. And maybe we could have right now the cars going with hydrogen fuel instead of gasoline. But the interest of the big oil lobbies stopped this process. And I think one of the biggest problems of our age is to make these people understand, I mean the big the directions of the big oil corporates, that we don't want that they lose their power. Absolutely, I don't want they lose their power. They have to keep their power, but they have to change their mind and to begin to think about themselves as energy suppliers and not only about oil product suppliers. So I think what we have to ask these people, and I would like to say a politician able to do this, to ask clearly this thing to these people, is please invest part of the huge capitals you accumulated in the past years in the space power technology. Because if you do that, you will pass to the history as an enhancer, as a factor of progress of the civilization. If not, if you continue to oppose it, to oppose the real progress, you will pass to the history as a tyrant. It's not a small difference.
Absolutely. Speaking of tyrants, it's a good word to bring up as a transition to another topic. What is your perspective from where you are and with your experience of China and China in the space program? Are they a tyrant to be concerned or feared, or are they a friend? Are they someone to compete with?
China is another planet respect to us Western. I think we should be aware that they have another philosophic setup, completely another. I mean, we are Aristotelian, we are dualistic. We always have to choose between one thing right and one thing wrong. And when we have chosen, we decide to fight the wrong. In the Oriental philosophy, nothing of this. They have another concept. They think in a not dualistic way, and they are able to take a little of this, a little of this other, and they are not always forced to choose between one thing right and one thing wrong. And I think in this moment they have, how can I say, una marcia in più. Okay, if we have five marches in our cars, they have 6. I don't know. I succeeded to explain me. And so they started their development, and they are now growing at a rate of 10% per year. So China and also India. And a friend, an English friend, is Michael Martin Smith, in some of his articles for Technologies of the Frontier, wrote that up to the 1800th century, China was the main economic power in the world, and it could come back to this primacy very, very easily. So now we have to make our reason. We have to reason, respect this reality that they are developing. They ask for energy and resources. One of the reasons of the maybe the main reason of the high price of the oil, $50 per barrel in these days, is not only for the Iraq situation, but also because China is dragging resources on the planet, and so the price is growing up. The problem is, but is not a discovery of today, because already some 10 years ago, in a discussion of the Nobel Prizes in Milan, I heard Carlo Rubbia to say that China will develop, and if we will not give to them clean and low-cost energy source, they will use the coal, and this will be absolutely dramatic for the environment. And so the problems were already foreseen since 10 years ago. But we made, you are right, we made absolutely nothing. So what we have to say today is that all the so-called alternative energies are not real alternatives, because nothing up to nowadays is comparable from the point of view of quantity and of production and distribution and so on, comparable to oil. Nothing except solar power from space. Solar power from space is enormous, incomparably bigger and for the long distance than oil. So I think that we have to choose between a very terrific conflict. I'm not thinking about the conflict of these days between Western countries and some Islamic countries. I'm speaking about a conflict maybe in 5 years or so between the Western world and the Asiatic world, and it will begin like a commercial conflict. But all the conflicts have a commercial origin. And if we don't open the system, if we don't go to take the energy where it is, we run the risk not of a clash of civilizations, as the commenters say, but we run the risk of the end of the civilization, because I think our planet will not bear a conflict between West and East of that dimension. So we don't have alternatives. We must go to space. We must take the solar power. We must develop space tourism. We must run a space industry, and we must run a space economy. Space economy will boost the economy for centuries to come. It will be an unbelievable revolution. We are not even able to foresee what it will be if it really starts.
In the remaining few minutes of the show today, because whether you can believe it or not, we are getting near that final half hour. You mentioned a little while ago that you believe that it's far more important to go to the moon than Mars. Why, in your eyes, is it more important to be on the moon than Mars?
Okay. The answer is very simple, because on the moon we can start to live and work, and on Mars we can only go to see what is there, and then come back maybe. So I know that my friend Bob Zabrin will not agree with what I'm saying. Of course, I think we have to go to Mars. I am an enthusiast of Mars exploration too, but I think we have to set up a program, and in a program there are more priority activities and less priority. Less priority doesn't mean that we will never do it, but they must work on another velocity, let me say. To undertake a mission to Mars now, it would a manned mission to Mars now, it would be very, very, very much uncertain, and the failure would have a negative fallout on the whole space program. If we go to the moon, we are three days away. We can set up a recovery mission in very short time. We can manage what it happens. To Mars, only the travel, to go there take 1 year, and then it will take another year to come back. Now I don't know. It depends from the windows and the orbit and all these stuff. But anyway, it takes a lot of time.
Would your opinions change if NASA and, say, the European Space Agency confirmed the existence of life on Mars today in some biological form based upon the Mars rovers and the work of the Italian scientist Dr. Formisano?
Yeah, I think this discovering of the methane and water steam at 10-15 kilometers in the Mars atmosphere is very, very important. And to know that likely on Mars there is life, or at least there is water, it is a very important reason to go there. In fact, I said I want to go there. What I maintain is that we have to use moon as a school, and to make practice there for at least 10-15 years, and in the same time we can prepare a mission to Mars. But what I never wanted to see is a mission to Mars without a permanent settlement on the moon. If this will happen, it will mean that nobody has a real volunteer, real will to start the colonization. But we only want to go around to make documentaries to sell to Discovery Channel, and we don't have in mind to colonize the solar system. So I hope to have been clear. I'm not against to go on Mars. I want to go there, but I want to go there while there is a sound program to industrialize the geo-lunar space.
Okay, well that seems to be pretty clear. And we are coming up. We've got about 6 minutes left on the show today, and I know we've been talking about why it is so important to be in space, especially considering the state of what's going on our planet today. In the remaining couple of minutes, Adriano, can you tell the Space Show listeners, what is the most important thing or concept or idea you want listeners to come away with today about space? What is the top of your importance and priorities?
Well, I think we have to face 4 main challenges. The first is an ethic challenge. Then we have a technological challenge and an economic development challenge and a philosophic challenge. We have to give answers at these 4 levels. The ethic challenge is because we have to find technological and scientific solutions to the conflicts. We cannot go on solving conflicts by killing. We have to learn how to fight without killing. This is a very important new humanist concept. We can do it. We can develop technologies to do it. Weapon systems that don't kill people, but just immobilize and or make people dream suddenly and so on. Sleep. And we have to find ethical solutions to the energy problems, and as we discussed before, and we have to keep the intelligent life as priority at the top of the ethic principles. Defend and enhance freedom as a basic human right for all the terrestrials, not only for some privileged people. Develop connection between freedom and social justice. Okay, I have not time to develop all this, but anyway, what Amartya Sen says, the Indian Nobel for the 1998 Nobel for Economy. Develop direct democracy using new technologies to go toward the real government of the sovereign citizens. And the technological challenge to develop the space frontier. We can and therefore we must develop the solar power, space power, develop reusable launch vehicles and space infrastructures, develop non-killing weapon systems, develop e-government tools, retake the development of the culture of safe computer systems. And the economic development challenge. Invest in astronautic technologies, public and private. Point to continuous growing economy, because a continuous growing economy is the warranty that all the conflicts will go solved, because if we are many people fighting for the same pie here in a closed world, the competition will be very ferocious and we will go back to our animal heritage. If the pie is growing, if the economy is growing, there is space and wealth for everyone. And the more people, the more market, the more wealth for everyone. I agree with Julian Simon on this point. But there will be a moment that even Julian Simon will be wrong if we don't open the system.
Adriano, Jeff in the United Kingdom wants to go back to the idea of Mercury, but this time for space settlement. And he wants to know if you've ever thought about, or do you see any possibilities for establishing some type of a small settlement in the poles of Mercury? And even though the craters are sub-zero, they probably can have their temperatures adapted to make this a possibility. So how do you see something like this in contrast to going to the moon or going to Mars?
As I said, the long-term goal is to colonize the solar system. So why not Mercury? I cannot see how this project could be prioritary versus the moon colonization and the development of space tourism and space power in what I call the greater Earth, the Earth magnetosphere, and also to establish laboratories and platforms on the Lagrange points that are very interesting points to study the interface between Earth and the rest of the cosmos. So yes, of course, it's a good idea. I'm not against. But if he proposed to make it immediately and to and to leave the moon program apart. I don't agree.
Okay, well, we are pretty much at the end of the show, Adriano. You'll have to come on again because we didn't get even halfway through some of the areas I wanted to explore with you, and as long as you keep writing about things in your newsletter, I don't think I'm ever going to get through half the areas I would like to explore to you. So I do want to thank you very much for being the guest on the show today, and I do want to urge everybody to go to the website that you mentioned and to check out your newsletter. In fact, can you give out that website address again for the listeners?
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity you gave me. And the website is www.tdf Toronto, Detroit, Florence.it.
And there you can subscribe to your newsletter, and they can also get in touch with you. Yes. For people who want to get in touch with you.
Yes. They have to choose the English version, and they will find on the left menu and at the bottom of the menu subscribe to the PDF newsletter.
Okay.
And if they go to sorry, just a moment. If they go to the editorials stuff, the last row of the menu on the left, the blue menu, Staff and Friends, the editorial stuff, they will find also my email. My email, anyway, I can say it now, is Adriano.Autino, Autino, at TDF, like the site, .it.
Okay, and Space Show listeners, on behalf of Adriano and myself, we thank all of you for tuning in today, for listening on the archives, and for hearing the important messages that Adriano has been sharing with us. Don't forget to hear our SpaceShipOne X Prize coverage Monday morning, 6 a.m. California time, and then we will be back Tuesday evening as usual with the regular Tuesday evening space show. So on behalf of Adriano Autino from Italy and myself, Godspeed to the X Prize crew, SpaceShipOne crew. Everybody have a great week, a safe week, a prosperous week, and above all, let's make it a peaceful week right here on planet Earth. Thank you all, and goodbye until tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific time.